I see in one time, I see in a lieutenant come to the yard so drunk that she had to hold the fence to walk. I couldn't believe
Wow.
she drove to the yard like that. And then the other
Oh
officer, when
gosh.
we were kind of outside watching, was yelling at us to get back in the houses, like, get back in, don't, you're not seeing nothing right now. We're like, oh, we're seeing something. We're seeing something, I
We
promise you,
saw
we are.
it.
Yeah, and it was
Wow.
so bad that she threw up and then fell down and hit her head. Like, I could not believe what I was seeing. Yeah, yeah. Most people wouldn't see that because they're not, all they've seen is what their minds are programmed to see with, Law and Order,
Right.
Con Air, movies like that. They create this illusion that every criminal is this heartless person, you know. So one of the reasons I wanted to come here and do this video and bring my daughters, I want people to see, like, no, we're not all like that.
Welcome to Time Served Podcast. I am Raquel Bryant, and today I have two very special guests. You might remember them from one of our previous videos. We have Michael. Say
Hello,
hello.
everybody. How you doing?
And then Lilah,
Hi guys.
who is Michael's daughter. We recently, well, not recently, 90 days ago,
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, about 105 days or so.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
so I was close.
Yep.
We went and picked up Michael on his first day out of prison. We were there as he got released from the gates. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what it's been like since then. So how's it been since you were released from prison?
It's been amazing. Everything's going exactly as I'd hoped and planned, probably even better.
Nice.
Getting everything done that I'd wanted. Own a car, got a good job. Obviously spending time with my daughter, get her every other weekend, and then sometimes, like, if she's off during the week from school, her mom will let me go pick her up. And so yeah, everything's going great.
Awesome.
Yeah, I feel super blessed and I'm super happy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How does it feel to spend so much time with your dad now?
It feels good because it was like not the same if you're on phone. Like you get to just talk to him and you just want, and we used to have like tablet visits, but we couldn't after, so we couldn't really show him anything. And I just think it's like a lot funner in person. Also, just getting to spend time with him.
Yep, for sure.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what kind of car did you get?
I got a 2011 Chevy Malibu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
it works.
Yeah.
So I got a really good deal on it. My previous boss called me up and said, hey, my cousin's selling this car to me for really cheap, and I was going to resell it for more, but I'll give it to you for the same price. And I was like, thank you. So I got it for $1,000 and it runs great. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's a killer deal.
I know, yeah, because it's worth like $3,500. He probably could have got a lot more for it, like at least $3,000.
Yeah,
So
for
he
sure.
did, yeah, he did me a big favor, you know. So that was super awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it worked out perfect when I first got the job, because I live in New River. I have my job's literally an hour drive. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was only possible because I signed up for a program called New Leaf, and
Okay.
they will pay for you to have a Lyft ride to and from work for your first 2 weeks until you get at least one paycheck. With I get paid weekly, so it was 2 paychecks for me. But I just took my whole first paycheck and just bought the car. So it worked out
Smart.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So
Huh.
yeah.
And you said you are working now too. What do you do?
Yeah, I work for Oza Contracting Company. That's a construction company that does contract work mostly for the water company. So all kinds of different stuff, changing out water lines. Right now I'm cleaning out water meter boxes so the water company can come change out the water meters.
Okay.
So definitely different. I'm not used to construction work. It's new for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's really like it's a lot of labor.
It is a
that
lot of
you're
labor,
doing.
yeah. Especially I'm working 60 hours a week.
Wow.
It's been really hot.
Yeah.
I'm not used to that type of work. I mean, I did forestry and on fire crew also when I was in prison. So I'm used to the heat. Like that was okay. It took a couple days to adjust, but like, so working out in the heat's okay. It's just the physical part's a little different than
Yeah.
I'm used to.
For
So
sure.
getting used to that. I feel a little more drained. Like usually when I'm working and I work a lot of hours, I don't feel like drained, but this job will make you feel like physically where you just like feel like you went to the gym and just worked out.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but it's a great company. I got a great boss, great coworkers. Enjoy doing it. I get to drive my own truck around, a company truck, and
Mhm.
so I'm pretty much by myself most of the day, going to different houses and properties and businesses doing the water meters. So,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah, blessed.
So, question, because I know a lot of people think, and I don't know because I'm not a felon, so I don't know any truth to this behind
Mm.
this. How hard is it after getting out of prison to find a job?
I think that if you're willing to humble yourself
Mm-hmm.
and do a job that you normally probably wouldn't do,
Mm-hmm.
like this is probably a job I normally wouldn't do,
Okay.
but I understand my past and my situation. So if you're willing to humble yourself, I mean, jobs are available out there, and you got to be persistent. Like some people will just put some applications in and they think that's good enough.
Right.
Um, and it's not like that. Like you got to go to the whatever business and talk to people and just be like,
Yep.
let them know, like, hey, look, I get it. I have a past. It looks terrible on paper. But
Right.
if you get to know me and if you give me a chance, I'll outwork all your workers and I'll work hard and I'll be here and be a great employee. That's what I've tried to do. I'm trying my best to outwork everybody because I want to show them that just because I'm coming out of prison and I have felonies on my record doesn't mean that I'm not a good worker.
Right.
So
For
I
sure.
show up to work every day early, don't miss work. I work more hours um, because I just want to show them like, hey, it's worth taking a chance on me. I'm gonna outwork all your employees. I'm gonna be your best employee. And that's kind of the approach that I have. And I think if
Mm-hmm.
everyone had that type of approach, they would be fine. Because most people are willing to give you a chance if they could see that you're sincere and they know like, wow, okay, this guy seems like he's serious, you
Yeah.
know.
For
So
sure.
that's how I go into it. I like when I first met my boss, even though I was referred by the same guy that got me the car, a
Mm-hmm.
previous boss. Um, During the interview, I just told him right off the bat, I'm going to outwork all your employees. I'm going to be on work every day on time, and I'm going to do a good job, you know. And and he liked that, and now I'm showing that I'm doing that,
Yeah.
you know. So I think it's demeanor. I think a lot of guys get out of prison, and I think they're insecure
Mm-hmm.
because of their situation, whereas I'm not insecure because of it.
Right.
You know, like I know I made some mistakes, but I also know that I'm not that type of person. I've never hurt anybody. I've never done anything crazy like that.
Right.
So I think confidence is a big one. I think a lot of guys get out of prison and they're lacking confidence. They don't have any. So if you're doing an interview and someone's interviewing you and they could tell that you're like, oh, I don't really have any experience, and they're just unsure of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
rather than going into an interview and being like, look, I get it. I don't have any experience. I've never done this before, but I will outwork all your employees.
Yep.
If you give me a chance, I'm going to be your best employee. You know, if they go into an interview with that approach, they're going to get way more success and people willing to give them a chance, you know.
Definitely.
So anybody out there that has a felony or has been in prison, my advice would be, to when you do an interview, to make sure that you're confident in yourself and let them know right off the bat, like, hey, I get it, I have a past, but give me a chance, get to know me, and I'll make it worth your while, you know.
Agree 100%.
Yeah.
We're we hire felons. We're felon friendly,
Mhm.
but it definitely when you come and you're confident and you show that and you show your willingness to learn, even if you don't have experience, it definitely comes a long way. So I agree
Yeah.
100% with that.
Yeah.
Totally.
It does, and like I said, just staying humble.
Hmm.
Like I was literally on my way to Subway to turn in an application when I got the phone call for this
Wow.
job. Like, so I was willing, like if I had to go to a grocery store and bag groceries
Hmm.
and do it with a smile and be the best employee that's ever bagged groceries, I would do that if I had to. Whatever it takes to be successful, you got to have that mindset. Like, you got to be willing to start from the bottom
Yep.
and work your way up and have a great attitude and show people that you're sincere and that you want to change, and what motivates me too is obviously being the best dad for her. Like that's my number one goal. It's always going to be my number one goal.
Hmm.
And so I don't care if I had whatever job it is, I don't care what it is, whatever it takes to be a great dad and take care of her and to be a part of her life, I will do it, you know. So
For sure.
Yeah. I feel blessed to have her. She's an amazing daughter, the most amazing daughter Dad could ever ask for. And it's just never held anything against me. Always been forgiving and compassionate. You know, just understanding, you know. There's so many parents that are incarcerated that I think the children don't understand.
Yeah.
And I think that especially like a lot of the mothers are hard-hearted towards the fathers that are locked up.
Yeah.
And in my situation, her mom's amazing. She's an amazing mother. She's just a fantastic person. And so like it's like a dual blessing for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it made it easier for me.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
Yeah.
That is, I hear a lot of stories where the moms kind of keep the kids away.
They do, yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's really sad because, I mean, there's a lot of dads in there that do want to be a part of their children's lives.
Yeah.
I've taken every parenting class that you could take. I've seen other fathers in there. Like, there are fathers that are sincere that want to be a great dad.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, and they just made a mistake or were raised in a terrible environment where they didn't know how to live a normal life. So I just wish, I'm lucky, I just wish there was more dads in there because you would agree, when I got out, like our relationship was easy because we had already built a great relationship when I was in there.
Right.
And if her mom had denied me of that and then I got it when I was out here, it would have made it a little more awkward. Whereas I feel really comfortable with her when I got out because we already had a great relationship, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so if there's any women out there that do have a father of their child that's in prison, like, you know, just try to be more understanding and you know, and allow them to be a part of the child's life if that's what they want.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and plus for the kids, like I'm sure the kids want
Right.
to know their parents.
Yep.
You know.
So my dad, he's now passed, but when I was a child, he was in and out of jail. He had an alcohol addiction, and it was really tough when he was gone. And my mom, thankfully, she let me keep in contact with him the whole time, and she'd take us to visit him. And the letters, man, because we didn't have tablets back then,
Right? Yeah.
but the letters were everything to me. Just being in contact with my dad back and forth, and like you were saying, the bond that you two had. Well, you were in, and then as you got out, you guys already had that established bond.
Yeah.
My father and I had that too. So
Yeah.
like him getting released, like when, so I almost cried when you guys finally got to meet, because it just kind of brought me back. It had like a little bit of a nostalgia for me.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when I was like a little girl and my dad coming home. So it was awesome. It was it touched me deeply.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy for you guys. I can definitely see the bond. I saw it that day and I can see it now. Like, it's really cool. I'm so happy for both of you.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a blessing, you know. She feels, even though she's my daughter, she also feels like a best friend. You know, like that's how much we talk, right? Would you agree? Like I know all about her games and what's her life about. Like, enjoy spending every moment with her, and you know that connection started in there. You know, it is such a blade. Even the tablet visits were a blessing because she could show me her bedroom, like, oh hey dad, this is my bed.
So cool.
And yeah, it was so funny because like I would be on the tablet and she would like follow, like move me around, like
that is so cool.
She'd be like, hold on dad, I'm gonna put you right here, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember writing long letters. How much easier a tablet would have been.
Oh yeah, so much easier.
Or even when they took away in-person visits eventually, and it was the little you had to go down to the jail and then you just have the camera.
Yeah.
And the, what are they called? Like the virtual
the
video.
little TVs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little
Yeah, I hated those visits, but I'd still
know.
go if it meant being able to see my dad in a different way and talk to him. I would go. And after I turned 18, I would sometimes ride the bus down there, the city bus, just to go see him for, what was that, I think like 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30
or whatever,
minutes.
just to see him on the little TV screen. I hated those TV screens
I know.
too. They sucked.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be so cool.
I still
a
remember that in
tablet.
county too, when they changed over to that. I'm like, what is this? You know,
Yeah.
this is my visit? I got to go in a room. I can't even see him in person?
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I know. Same. I was so upset. It
Yeah.
sucked.
Yeah.
But any little bit of communication is it was everything to me. Like
Yeah.
my dad and I were super close, literally up until like I was very fortunate the last 2 years before he passed. Him and I were the closest we'd had ever been before.
Mhm.
So I'm very grateful that I was able to spend those last 2 years and be extremely close to him. So
Wow. Yeah.
cool. So
Mm.
Lilah, how's it been with your dad working and coming to pick you up from school and all that?
It's been really good. Like I look forward every time when I get to go with him for the weekend or for like a break,
Mm-hmm.
and we do a lot of fun things like we make little paper squishies together or other crafts.
Cool.
We actually made a tuxedo for their cat and
Yeah.
for his,
We did.
For
too.
Really?
It was so cute.
but he didn't want to wear it though, sadly.
The cat didn't want to.
Yeah, he was grumpy. He was like, "What are you putting on me?"
But he's like very friendly. He just wouldn't allow it.
Clothes,
I think
yeah.
he was too fat for it though. And it was
Yeah.
big too. It was like this. I'm like, how do you not fit in that?
She was like a tailor. She was sitting there with the
Oh.
ruler, and we're gonna make this right. And it was still a little tight on him.
Oh, cool. So what's the
Yeah.
funnest thing that you guys have done together since you've been home?
You first.
Let's see. I think the time when we went to feed ducks bread at the lake, it was really fun. It was fun to see the ducks just like rush for the bread, practically fighting for it at the point.
How cool. What lake did you guys go to?
There's like a really nice park in Anthem.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
it's got a big old.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
It has like the
Yeah.
train run over it.
Yeah,
And
okay.
it's got like the big lake with like 50,000 ducks in it.
Yeah, that was so fun. It was fun.
Yeah, I've got
cool.
like a couple videos and pictures of it.
Yeah.
I still remember that one duck choking on the piece of
I
bread.
didn't know you weren't supposed to feed ducks bread.
Yeah.
No,
I didn't want to say anything. But
Yeah, I didn't know. You know, I did that as a kid. You know.
Same.
I mean, I
Yeah.
googled it and they said it's just as long as like they don't feed the ducks like
Only
bread all the
bread.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
there's
we
no
did give them
nutrients in the bread.
Cheetos.
Yep, exactly.
Oh.
We
Yeah.
gave them Cheetos, so
Yeah.
they seem to like it. Well, the hungry ones like the Cheetos.
I don't know
Yeah.
how much better the Cheetos are than
I
the
don't
bread.
think
Yeah.
the
but-
Cheetos were great.
Remember,
but
remember the proud duck?
Oh yeah.
So
There
he
is
just
a-
wouldn't take food from us, but he came over and he just kind of stuck his head and he just looked down and she would throw some bread down and he just kind of, you know, like he's too good for the bread.
Like
Maybe he was on a diet.
He was standing so proud. He was just like,
Yeah, we called him the proud duck. He just, he looked, oh man, it was so funny.
That's hilarious.
and then he'd look down on all the other ducks like peasants.
Yeah, he did.
That is so funny.
It was hilarious. Yeah, yeah. I had that recorded too. It was so funny. I
Oh,
I gotta
cool. You
record
got the
this.
proud duck? on
Yeah, I
camera?
gotta
I need to
record
see
this
that.
guy. Oh
That's
man,
funny.
It was
Yeah.
funny. They literally had personalities. Like
they did.
they
Yeah.
would, some of them when we threw the bread like kind of far,
Mhm.
they would literally fly for it. They would literally attack other ducks for it. Like it was
Yeah.
crazy.
You think they were
Like
starving?
they were hungry ducks, or
Yeah.
they just really wanted food. Because I like when we went there, I saw some people feeding them, but not as much. But we fed them like 2 loaves of bread and like a whole like half bag of Cheetos and maybe some popcorn.
Hey, they tear it up too.
But-
That was so funny.
That's so funny.
But like we would make it in small bits. But they went crazy for it, bro. Like they ate it up.
Yeah, that was
That's
funny.
hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. I had a good time doing that.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's really good.
I don't know. I can't really. Every moment with her is amazing for me.
Yeah, I believe
So I
it.
can't. It's hard to pick like a favorite moment.
Right.
But like we went and watched a really good movie together. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Aya, right?
Yeah. A movie about AI.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it was fun. I enjoyed
Bro, the
that.
previews were literally longer than the movie
I know.
itself.
I know. And
The
then
previews
it's
were
funny
like an
because
hour and 30 minutes.
the movie was PG-13, but the commercials were like rated R. So I'm like, wow, you know. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Cool. What was that like for you going to the movies after being?
Um, I mean, the reclining chair, the chairs
Mhm.
were a little different, and I'm used to being in a little tiny chair where you're like, like, and then all of a sudden we went to the movie theater and the chairs were huge and there's the recliner. I'm like, whoa, check
Yeah.
this out.
Oh, and don't forget the fact that you expected the popcorn to be like $3.
Oh yeah,
It was
I mean,
like $9
prices on
for
everything.
like a
was
medium.
like $8 for
Yeah.
bottled water. And I'm
Yeah,
like, oh
it's
my
cheaper
gosh.
to like buy the tickets to go see the movie
Yeah.
than the food inside.
It is,
That's
yeah.
what it gets you.
What me and my mom
Right.
do is we would just go to Walgreens and get the candy, and we would smuggle it in a bag. And then we just bring water from home, and then we just do that. Because, like, the food is like buying 2 more tickets practically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It is.
It is, yeah.
yeah. I used to do that as a kid too. I used to live right by this huge movie theater. It was literally down the street from my house, so me and my friends would always go over there,
Hmm.
and that's what we used to do. We used to get our big purses
Yeah.
and just. I snuck a whole entire like Burger King meal in there.
Whoa.
One
Wow,
time.
that's so funny.
The drink and everything.
Anytime you see a girl with a huge purse going into the movie,
Yeah, you already know.
Yeah, you know what's up.
It reminds me of the time we went with my aunt to the movie, my aunt Jennifer. We brought, like, a whole, like, bag of McDonald's in. And then we were going to watch, like, Migration, but not, like, during the commercials, there was this baby right in front of us crying at, like, the top of its lungs. And
Aw.
so she was like, okay, we're switching the movie. I'm so sorry. We can watch this movie another time. So we went to switch the movie. We're like, hey, can we switch these tickets in for another movie? And that mom with the baby was right behind us. And she was just like, hey, can we switch these tickets? Because it's annoying babies keep crying. Like, my aunt does not care. She is brutal.
Yeah.
But her personality is great, man.
Yeah, that's
Shout
funny.
out to the aunties.
No.
I love my aunties.
Oh.
I have so there's a funny story with my aunt when we used to go to the movies. She used to always take me out. She's only 8 years older than me,
Mm.
so she was always kind of like an older sister to me, and we were pretty close when I was growing up. And one time when I was like 17, I had face piercings and just a teenager. I had makeup and everything.
Mhm.
She took me to go see a movie, and the guy at the counter asked, he's like, "Okay, so one child and one adult?" And we just looked at each other. We're like, "Yeah, yeah."
We'll go with it.
Yeah. I'm just like,
Yeah.
really?
That's
Okay, I'll
funny.
take it. But
Because how short you are?
maybe, possibly. Yeah, I
Uh,
have been this height since I was in 5th grade. So
Yeah, that's funny.
that's possible.
Like, just put a hoodie on. You're gonna get us free, cheaper tickets.
But we were shocked. She was just as shocked as I was when he said that.
That's so
We
funny.
were just like, yeah,
Okay,
we'll go with that.
Mom.
At least it was cheaper.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Hey, being this short has its advantages. Like
Yeah.
my shoes, I wear a size 4.5, so I get to shop in the kids section, which
Yes.
are
There
like
you go.
$10 cheaper, $10 to $20 cheaper.
Yeah.
So I like it.
Yeah. There you go.
And you always got the advantages of hide and seek. Because I can hide in bathroom cabinets and in like my closet that has like the rows. I can hide under like the shelves that are like this big.
Uh,
I
I
don't
can
know
hide
how
anywhere,
many
bro.
times as a grown up I've played hide and seek, but
Hide and seek is fun, bro.
I'll keep that in mind.
that's funny. The
And,
mind
like-
of a child. She's like, you're perfect for hide and seek.
It's funny, every time I meet a kid too, they're always like, "Hey, I'm almost as tall as you," or "Hey, I'm taller than you." I'm like,
You're like, I know. I see that.
every time it never fails.
That's
They'll
so
start
funny.
comparing their heights.
That's
Apparently
what
taller
surprised
than
me the most when I first seen her when I got out was how tall she was.
Really?
It's hard to tell on the tablets.
True. Very
Yeah.
true.
So and
Yeah.
then her mom is shorter,
Mhm.
not very tall. So when I seen her, I was like, whoa! I wasn't expecting that. I was like, wow, you're a lot taller than I thought.
What
Yeah.
else was surprising when you first got to see your daughter?
Surprising. I guess on how mature she is and how much she knows. Like,
Yeah.
to me, like when I was her age, I was just, not thinking. I was thinking like a kid. She thinks more like, to me, it seems like the minds of kids are a little more advanced. Like, because now they have cell phones and they know how to use the cell phones. And her, like, she talks. She's only 12, but she was 11 when I got out. But because she's doesn't have any brothers or sisters, she's just very mature for her age. So like
Yeah.
going out shopping with her or doing anything, she's like, "Oh, Dad, this is how you do this," or "Let me show you this over here." Like very, very mature.
Yeah.
So that was, she's a little more mature. Like the last time I seen her, she was only 4. So the difference between 4 and 11 when was
Right.
shocking to me. Like, so
For
that
sure.
that part a little bit. So even when I would talk to her on the phone in prison, there would be times where it's like she would use a word and I'm like, wait, what? What? What does that mean? You know? Yeah.
I mean, I mainly learned vocab words because I look up like synonyms for other words when I write my books. I'll be like, okay, I use this word too much. What are other words for blank blank? And then it gives me new words. Or when I was in 6th grade, they would make us do vocab tests every week, which I dreaded. But we learned new words, and sometimes I remember them, and sometimes I didn't. But I learned new words from there, and they'd always be like big words, like let's see, just big words.
Yeah. So talking to her, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's, she feels like I'm talking to someone who's like 15, maybe
Yeah.
16, and she has wrote several books, which is amazing. Like
Yep.
she's on an app called Wattpad. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wattpad?
Yeah, and she has
Okay.
actually books that she wrote that are published on there, and people that have read them and followers, and it's,
Wow.
yeah, it's
how
impressive. I
cool.
seen it and I was like, oh my gosh, like wow.
Yeah, when I first met Lilah as well, and as the day was going on
Hmm.
with the video, I noticed, I picked up on how mature she was.
Hmm.
And also, she had so much in common with my son. Like, my son has
Yeah.
also wrote several books.
Yeah,
and,
amazing, huh?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I was like, man, these two have to meet. Because he,
Yeah.
you know, my stepdaughter, she comes around every now and then. Her and my son are extremely close.
Mhm.
She is his favorite person in the entire world.
Mhm.
But for the most part, you know, she stays with her mom, so
Mhm.
he's kind of grown up a little alone, like an only child,
Mhm.
somewhat, you know. And
Yeah.
I see that in him too, a little on the mature side.
Yeah,
and,
right.
and he says big words too. And
Yeah.
him and Lilah, they're just like,
Yeah.
it's so weird. They have so much in common. She reminded me like a female version of him.
Wow, that's super cool. Yeah.
Except I'm taller.
Yes.
And I don't look 8. He's like so small, like I could just pick him up and like sling him over my shoulder. like a little bag just carry around.
How
that's
funny.
Yeah.
Let's see. How has adapting been for you, just
Well,
in general?
At first, like when I first got out, it was really hard because we had the cameras and everything, and
Right.
when you first get out, there's so many things on your mind. Like you're thinking about all kinds of stuff, like food, job, everything, because everything, it feels like you're being born again. So it's hard for me to hold a normal conversation, like because my mind would want to drift off. Someone would be talking to me and my mind would start thinking about, okay, what am I going to do for work tomorrow, or things like that, you know.
Right.
What am I going to do for transportation? Like your mind just drifts, you know.
Yeah.
And so the biggest difference now is I feel comfortable and I can have a normal conversation. My mind's not drifting anymore. So that I've adapted. Also being in public, like when I first got out, it felt so weird being around a lot of people that are free and not having a correctional officer there watching you. You know, I worked for
Yeah.
state forestry, so we did a lot of traveling through the state, and there was moments where we'd be in public, but every time, you know, there's correctional officers there, and they're like,
Right,
all right, be
always
on your best behavior, don't talk to
vision.
anybody. So like when you're in a store and you're going to pay something and someone's like, oh, hey, how you doing? Or you're like, oh, I'm allowed to talk to them. How you doing? You know?
Yeah.
Hi. So that the interaction is back to normal now. Like even when
Yeah.
when I see my doctor, and you know, and how nice people were to you, because you're not used to being treated nice in there. Like
Right.
there are good people that do treat you nice, but it's a small percentage. You're used to people that just treat you terrible
Yeah.
and look down on you, you know. So like when I had my first doctor visit and she's like super nice and polite, I'm like, wow, well, thank you. I appreciate that. So, you know, adapting to being treated normal and living a normal life, and you know, it's come along good. I think for me, like my little brother, he's I think he struggles a little bit. Like he said, he felt like he was institutionalized, whereas I don't feel like that at all. Like,
Okay. You don't.
not at all.
That's
Like the whole
good.
time I was in prison, it didn't feel right for me. Like I
Okay.
did not want to be in there. Like
Yeah.
it didn't feel right. Um, I just kind of focused on work and but for me getting it, this feels right, being free and normal and being a dad, like that feels normal for me.
Right.
Yeah, so it felt weird at first coming out, but yeah, for me, I feel
Just the
way more.
transition.
Yeah, just the transition and getting used to normal people and being talked to like you're a human, and
Right.
so
That was odd for me as well, leaving from being a corrections officer to being a dental assistant
yeah,
in like
wow.
out in public, because I was used to, talking real stern to the
Yeah,
inmates and
right.
you can't be too nice to the inmates. You have to
can't, right.
be, or you get judged by the other COs and the
Right.
higher ups. So you have to keep it real short and just be really stern. Don't give them any sense of like friendliness,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
And then going into being a dental assistant where you have to be super friendly.
Right. Wow.
So weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, it took me some time. So
I bet.
as far as like institutionalized, I'd say the COs feel it slightly
Yeah.
too.
So I'm just curious, like, how did that make you feel when you worked for DOC and you were being told that, hey, you got to be real stern, you can't be friendly, you got to treat these people like on this level?
Yeah,
Like,
that was
how'd
not
that make you
natural.
feel?
Yeah, I didn't like it. It wasn't natural for me. I'm naturally a friendly person. I'm nice. I'm shy, which was also hard for me. And they were really strict on me in the academy. When I started the academy, they didn't think I was going to make it because I was so shy and
Right.
quiet and just nice. And so they didn't really see me as being a, hard CO.
Right, yeah.
So it was almost like a persona I had to put on when I went to work. But then slowly over time, it started to change me. And I remember one day, I had been a CO for maybe a year and a half at this point. And I remember my mom had mentioned to me, she said, you're just so mean now. And she had told me that. She's like, we're not inmates. You can't talk to us like that.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that, I remember that so like fresh in my mind, even though it was so long ago.
Wow.
I remember her saying that to me because it did hit me a little hard. Like, oh wow, like what's happening?
Yeah.
Because that's
It's-
not me. I'm not
Yeah.
a mean person. Even going into the job as a CO, first of all, I went into it for the money. It wasn't like a career path. I was like, oh, I want to be a CO for the rest of my life and retire. But going into it, I knew, these inmates are people who've made mistakes, like my dad did, and some of my other close family members. But they have families out there. They're dads, their brothers, their sons. They're just human beings.
Right.
And so going into it and seeing the way that they are talked to, the way they're treated, and then having to be that person talking to them that way and treating them that way, it was tough for me. And it helped me realize too, like that was definitely not the career for me.
Right. Yeah. And I've met correctional officers who were kind and compassionate and good and upright people who they didn't like it. I remember one in particular. She was super nice, and she told me, she's like, yeah, I'm gonna get a different job because they're trying to force me to treat you guys terrible and I can't do it.
Yeah.
I think most people on the streets, if they seen how bad they treat us in there, they wouldn't agree with it. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It's atrocious. It's a form of human torture mentally when they treat people like that. I get some people in there have done some terrible things. I get that. But there's such a huge percentage of people in there that just made a mistake.
Right. Agreed.
I feel like I just made a mistake. I wasn't out committing crimes. I took a weapon from someone I thought might use the weapon.
Right.
I felt like I was preventing a crime. Like that's 100% what happened. And then we get pulled over, and then 5 minutes later, I'm in handcuffs. It was nuts.
Wow.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So for me, like, there's other people in there that have made mistakes like that, or done little things, They're
You
just
meet the most normal people in there, and I
yeah,
would think that a lot. A lot of the times, I'd be like, "Why is this guy even in here?" Like,
yeah.
this
I
is definitely one of those cases where this is a
right.
huge mistake that he just made, and here he
Hmm.
is. Like,
Yeah, and I mean, there was a lot of people, and they were telling me like, dude, you don't fit in here. Like, and I'm
yeah,
like,
I
yeah,
don't see that in
I
you either
totally
after
agree with
meeting
that. I'd be like,
you.
yeah, I agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't want to be in here. I don't want to be institutionalized. I don't want to be into politics. I'm not into, any of the gang stuff that goes on in there. I want nothing to do with it. Like, this
yeah,
isn't for me, you know. So, but there are other people. Like, there's a lot of guys in there, and then women in the women's prison too. That, like when you're raised in a bad environment, and your
hmm
parents are addicts, and you're you're kind of you don't realize some of the red flags.
right.
You know, it took me a while to kind of because I grew up in a pretty bad environment. My dad was a heroin addict,
Oh wow.
and pretty much he was a petty thief, but that's what he
hmm
did every day. Like he'd pick us up from school, we'd get in the vehicle, he'd drive around collecting metal.
Oh wow.
Sometimes he would steal it,
Mhm.
you know, and then he would take it to the metal place and cash it in, and then go to the drug dealer's house, and then we'd go to the park, and we knew exactly what our parents were doing.
Wow.
And so you can imagine a 10-year-old kid, like that's how you're raised, and that's normal to you. You don't
Yeah.
know, to you it's normal. To anybody that's raised with good parents that teaches their children right and wrong, they would look at that situation and they'd be like, wow, those kids are being raised in a terrible, dysfunctional family, you
Right.
know. But when you're a kid being raised like that,
You don't
you
know
don't
that.
recognize
Yeah.
it, that this is normal.
Right.
This is a normal life. So when I was younger, when I was like 17, 18, 19, and I started dating and kind of moving into the world apart from my family,
hmm
um, I had friends and especially female girlfriends that were addicts, and there was never a red flag. It wouldn't, it's not like it clicks in your brain like, oh, this is not a good relationship,
Right.
you know? So it's easy for people like that when you're raised like that to make mistakes, to become an
Yeah.
addict or to go out and commit a crime, because of how they were raised. And I think there's a lot of people that sit in a judgment seat that were raised by good parents, good law-abiding citizens who know that that's not good behavior,
hmm
but they're the ones that sit in the judgment seat judging those people, and their hearts are hardened towards them and they don't have any understanding,
Yeah.
and so what I would like to do is help people see in the world that, hey, that people make mistakes. Like sometimes you might say like, how could you make a mistake like that? Well, you weren't raised like me. You weren't
Right.
raised in the situation that I was. So just to try to help people be more understanding, you know, a little more compassionate and forgiving, you know, um, I think it definitely needs to be out there because,
Agreed.
I was in prison, and you would think that some of the worst people I've ever met would be the inmates, but that's not true. Some of the worst people I've ever met were the judges and the prosecutors, who are just heartless, have
Yeah.
no compassion in their hearts,
Yeah.
just tear families apart and ruin their lives, so they can promote
hmm
their careers.
Yep.
Now, like I said, there are good, upright people that work for the criminal justice system, but
Yep.
usually they're like you. They like, this isn't for me. I can't treat people like this. I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
So we
The,
end up getting stuck with the ones that are hard-hearted,
yep. Because
and
they
it's,
make the career out of it as
yeah,
opposed to the ones that just don't like that, way of.
right.
And it's sad. I've seen it
Hmm.
time and time again. I think that's a huge reason why the turnaround rate for corrections officers is so high.
It
I
is. I
remember
agree
going
with that.
into
Yeah.
the job, like thinking to myself, why is the turnaround rate so bad? Like, what
Hmm.
am I was very skeptical going into it, and
Yeah.
I did it anyways, but I had questions in the beginning, and I saw why afterwards. But
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like when you're a CO, if you're not anything other than what, like as you're describing, like a hardened heart and, very tough on the inmates and mean, you're kind of looked at and judged by the other COs, and
Right.
they kind
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
ostracize you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And you can get a really bad reputation if,
Yeah.
you're anything other than that, I
Yeah.
should say.
And it
So,
seems like the ones that are kind and good and upright are never the ones that get promoted. It's like I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone go from a sergeant
mm-hmm.
to a lieutenant, to a captain, and they're just the worst person in the world. And you're like, man, why do they always promote the ones that are super hard-hearted and uncompassionate? You know, like
Yeah.
those are seem like they're the ones that get promoted in there, and then they're the ones making the decisions. And it creates an environment in there. It's just terrible because it creates an environment, honestly, where it feels like it's them versus us.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't like that.
Yep.
I always treated all the staff with great kindness and compassion, treated them like humans, but then in return, a big percentage of them would treat me like I was, you know, the worst person in the whole world and look down on me. So it's really hard to like have a relationship with someone when their perspective of you is like that, but yet your perspective of them is, hey, I'm gonna treat them with kindness and respect, follow their rules, you know. So having that approach actually does a lot of damage because it causes division between the staff and the inmates, to where there's no trust, there's no good communication, and it just makes it worse to me.
Agreed.
You know,
For sure.
whereas like the staff members who did have a good, kind heart, I felt like they had a good relationship with the inmates, where even when I've seen inmates before where they're struggling with addiction, and they would go tell the staff like, hey, I'm really kind of struggling right now. They feel comfortable with it.
Wow.
Can you help?
Yeah.
And, you know, and they'd be like, yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm going to move you from this building over here because I know there's some trouble over there.
Wow.
I'm going to get you out of that environment.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but they felt comfortable enough, like, hey, this correctional officer isn't going to drag me to the hole right now and give me a major ticket. I can go talk to him, let them know, like, hey, I just don't want to be in that environment.
Yeah.
You know, whereas you get some that not only would they book them, but then they would go book everybody in there, and it would cause terrible problems.
Big problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like that needs to be worked on. Like, and I think if more people in the public understood that and understood the guys in there more, that people would be more compassionate and try to work a little bit more with the guys that are in there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you thinking of maybe doing any type of like public speaking or anything?
I like to write Christian motivational books.
Awesome.
Working on a second one, talking to a publisher right now.
Oh.
So like in that, I would like to like get the Christian community more understanding towards what oppression is.
Right.
Because for some reason, the Christians in America today are all about oppression and tough sentences and let's be hard on criminals. But that's not even biblical. Like, God is full of mercy and compassion, and he hates oppression. So how is it that you have all these Christians throughout America that support oppression? To me, it's ridiculous. And it's because they listen to these proud leaders that are like, oh, we're going to be hard on criminals and we're going to put them in prison for a really long time and we're going to keep you safe. But what they don't realize is, you know, oppression is an abomination to God. He doesn't like it, and he deals with those people for being that way. So what I would like to do is, like the Christian book that I'm working on, I want to enlighten the Christian community more to the evils of oppression, because it's terrible, especially in Arizona. Arizona is one of the harshest states in the entire country. Like, you take my charges, just with me, the exact same charges for both sentences, and I commit those crimes in California, I get probation my first time down instead of 8.5 years, and I get maybe 3 years for the gun charge, maybe, sometimes even less. And then you're doing 50% of your time.
Right.
I've done 18 years for a theft of means and a trafficking and stolen property my first time down, and a prohibited possessor my second time down. Like, so I don't think a lot of people realize like how harsh they're being.
Right.
Like, those type of sentences used to be for people that were committing serious crimes.
Yeah.
You know, like hurting people and robbing a bank and crazy stuff. And now they're handing out those sentences like they're candy, like they're nothing.
Yep.
You know, so for me, I would like to get Christians more understanding, because like I said, I think if more people understood what was happening and how oppressive and how harsh the system has become, I think that more people would out there would be like, wow, like that's not right.
Right.
Whereas they don't know. They just don't know, because they have, all they're hearing is the perspective from the politicians and the leaders that are all about oppression. Like, oh, let's be hard on these guys. Like, okay, well, how would you feel if that was your kid? And you want to be hard on your kid, but you're being hard on somebody else's kid?
Yep.
right? Like, what if that was your son? You know, what if that was your sister? What if that was your mother? Would you still sit in a judgment seat and want to give them a super harsh and excessive sentence? No, you wouldn't. So
Yep.
why would you show your own family member compassion but not somebody else's?
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
they don't see it. They're only seeing things from their perspective.
Right.
They're not seeing things from the family's perspective. Like, I should have gotten less time. I could have been more a part of her life, you know?
Yeah.
I take responsibility. I made the mistakes, and I take responsibility, and I regret it, and she knows. But at the same time, I feel like that it's just extremely harsh. And I don't think that, like, I don't think a lot of judges and prosecutors, I don't think it crosses their mind like, oh my gosh, like, I'm stealing him away from his daughter for 10 years.
Right.
10 years. Because he took a gun away from somebody that was probably going to go use it. Like, that to me is just, I don't think it crosses their mind. I think there's so many people going through the system. It's just like, they look at this paper, oh, here's the sentencing guidelines, there you go. You know, there's so many families that are affected by it, so many marriages. Like, I can't tell you how many guys that are married that as soon as they get a lengthy sentence, the wife's like, yeah, I can't wait around. So he's not just being sentenced to 8, 10, 12 years in prison. He's getting sentenced to a divorce. He's getting sentenced to, all your property's gone, everything you own is gone. You're going to have this for the rest of your life on your record. It's going to be hard to find a really good job. Like, it's not just an 8-year or a 6-year or a 4-year prison sentence. Like, it affects your entire life. And so the sentence is way more than what it really is. And so do you really need to give them that much time? And then on top of all that, you know, you're going to give them a divorce, a divided family, someone else is going to raise their kids. Like, you know, a lot of people don't think about those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to help enlighten people to, like, what the system is really doing. Is it really keeping people safe? Like, do you need to lock up somebody for so long, you know, to keep people safe? No, I don't think so. I'm not talking about not punishing people. I'm talking about oppression, which is judgment without mercy. It's when you excessively punish people. That's what needs to be addressed.
Yep.
You know? So if you have two judges that are sitting in a judgment seat, and one judge passes a 10-year sentence, which is kind of harsh, and another one does 5. You got so many people that, like, they would say, well, the judge that did the 10 years is correct. But anybody that has mercy and forgiveness in their heart is going to look and tell you that the judge with 5 years gave out the better sentence. People that have hard hearts don't recognize the harsh sentencing because they don't have mercy and compassion in their hearts. Well, what the world doesn't understand, and a lot of people don't understand, is that God is more merciful and compassionate than man is.
Yep.
So every time a judge passes a sentence, we might look at it and be like, oh, okay, 10 years was appropriate. Well, from God's perspective, because he is so merciful and forgiving, he'd be like, no, that was harsh, that was oppressive. And he doesn't like that. And so the people that are in leadership, they don't realize that God will hold them accountable for that type of behavior. And people don't think about, like, okay, people with bad behavior, I get it, they should be punished. But also the judge that sits in the judgment seat who doesn't show mercy and compassion is also showing bad behavior. Like, since when did showing people mercy and compassion become evil? It's crazy. So I really hope that I could help. I want to help people that have never been in trouble before, that kind of have hard hearts, be a little more merciful and compassionate. You know, that's what I want to do. That's what I write about in my books.
Awesome.
I try to get them to see things from a different perspective, you know, and try to change their heart a little bit, because we definitely need that. We don't need, we got enough people that are tough on people. You know, we need to try a different approach.
Yep.
I want to do that, and I also want to show people that I'm going to get out and be successful, and I'm going to be the best dad in the world for my daughter. I know she could verify it. Would you agree with me? Am I compassionate and caring? And
Yeah, you're probably one of the best people I've ever met.
no.
That's awesome.
So, like, I always tell people, like, you know, don't listen to what I say about me. Listen to what the people around me say. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And so the people around me will tell you, like, that know me will be like, they'll tell you I'm compassionate and merciful and generous. I like helping people. I'm not a violent person. I've never hurt anybody in my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I've made some mistakes, and I'm remorseful, and I take responsibility. Um, but I think that when you look at it on paper, like these prosecutors are really educated and smart, and they went to law school, and they know how to use fancy words. It's easy for them to demonize somebody. Like they create this illusion that's not real.
Right.
You know, like when you hear a prosecutor and they're talking, like when I heard the prosecutor kind of describing me, I'm like, that's not me at all. Like, what's this guy? They create this illusion that's not real.
Yeah.
You know, and so what I want to do is counter that illusion and show people like, hey, this is what we're really like. There's a lot of really great people that are locked up. I know because I'm friends with them. I was in prison with them, that are kind and compassionate and generous. Like people would be shocked at how close we are in prison and how much we care about each other and how much love the inmates show each other, and also their friends and families. It's not like the movie Con Air. It's not. It's not.
Yeah, it's really not.
I love that movie, but at the same time I don't, because it creates this illusion that the guys that are locked up are these monsters, and it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
You know,
I was shocked going in as a CO that you guys are just normal people. I had that thought in my head too, that everything I've seen in the movies, that these inmates are, you know, big, scary, mean people.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just normal people.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not so bad.
Yeah. They're not. Yeah. And most people wouldn't see that because they're not. All they've seen is what their minds are programmed to see with, you know, Law and Order.
Right.
Con Air, movies like that. They create this illusion that every criminal is this heartless person, you know. So one of the reasons I wanted to come here and do this video and bring my daughters, I want people to see like, no, we're not all like that. We're not my brother who's crying when he gets out of prison. I mean, what he went through is terrible. Like even what he went through is even worse than what I went through. I mean, absolutely terrible. You know, so I think if people could see like, wow, these people have hearts, they cry, they have real emotions, they love their children, they love their families, like maybe it'll help people out there have a little more compassionate and understanding. And you know, I get it, there are some bad people that are in prison. I get it. I'm not saying there's not.
Right.
But there's also a huge percentage of people that aren't like that.
Right.
You know.
And my thing is, I just don't like the judgment that people pass when none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes.
Right.
And I guarantee some of the people out there judging people who have been to prison have also made mistakes that could have landed them in prison had they been caught.
Right.
And I just don't like that. That's just not, you know, morally, that's wrong for me. I don't think you should be that way. And
that's really hard too. Like there was a couple times where I had, I knew there was one correctional officer in particular that I knew. I've listened to him talk, and I know that he's out there using and drinking and driving.
Yep.
And then I would see the same person like scolding other people, you know, like other guys when they'd make hooch or something. And I get it, it's his job.
Right.
But his demeanor was like he would look down on him. And it's like, dude, do you not look in the mirror? Like,
exactly.
Are you blind to your own behavior? It's like, come on.
Right.
You know?
I saw that.
Yeah.
Way too many times. You are 100% right on that.
Yeah. I see in one time, I see a lieutenant come to the yard so drunk that she had to hold the fence to walk.
Wow.
I couldn't believe she drove to the yard like that. And then the other officer, when we were kind of outside watching, was yelling at us to get back in the houses, like, get back in, you know, you're not seeing nothing right now. I'm like, oh, we're seeing something. We're seeing something, I promise you, we are. Yeah. Wow. And it was so bad that she threw up and then fell down and hit her head. Like, I could not believe what I was seeing.
Oh my gosh.
And then all they did is move her to a different yard.
Wow.
Know? Yeah. Which I'm all for mercy and compassion, but at the same time, like, you know, don't look down on me when you also have your own weaknesses and struggles. And, you know, a lot of people out there have different struggles and weaknesses, and I'm not judging anybody. I'm not going to look down on you because you like to drink and drive, or you are an addict, or you have an anger problem. Like, that's just as bad as behavior as any other type of behavior. You know. And I know firsthand that a lot of the correctional officers, because I had a good relationship with them, I was very polite and would talk to them. They're people just like we are.
Yep.
You know, and that's the one thing I would notice is like they would have struggles just like we did.
Yep.
They had emotions just like we did.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, there were times where I felt that the inmates were judging me, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm just here doing my job. Like, I'm just a person. You know, I've got a son at home. I'm just trying to support my little baby and just take it easy.
Right, yeah. Yeah, sometimes the inmates could be a little brutal.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't agree with, so especially like, you know, if they were being told to tuck their shirt in or whatever, and they would get really mad and like explode on the CO, you know.
And they
like,
don't
I don't
understand.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Like that you're just doing your job. Like, you know, it's nothing personal.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
so yeah, there's moments where the behavior of the inmates too is not appropriate.
Yeah.
And I would always, you know, one of the guys that I would hang around in there, you know, if they would act like that, I'd be like, dude, like, what are you acting like that for?
Yeah.
You know, they're people too.
Yep.
You know, but again, a lot of that comes because of that wall that's put up there. You know,
it goes
their
on both
response
sides.
would be, well, they're treating me like garbage. You know, they're not treating me like a human. Why should I treat them like a human? Well, you know, be better. Be better. You know. So yeah, seeing it from both perspectives and.
For sure.
Yeah. So.
Well, I am very happy for you and your freedom, and I know you're going to do great things.
Yeah.
And so far, how's it feel just to be free? And
I remember when I the first time I drove and I had my car, if I would just remember thinking to myself, like, I kind of said to myself in my car, I'm free. Oh my gosh, thank you God. I can't believe this. I'm driving a car, like I'm free. Like, you know, it feels amazing. Like, I don't know if people could, like, if somebody got arrested and they were going to prison, I promise you at that moment in time, they would all of a sudden realize, like, oh my gosh, what freedom feels like, and having, you know, the freedom to do what you want and go to the store and eat food that you want and see your family when you want. Like, most people take those normal things for granted and you don't value them, you know. So for me, like, every moment I value, even though I've been out for 3 months, every time I pick her up, every time, I'm so excited, and I'm like, thank you God that I get to go see my beautiful daughter today, and please help me be the greatest dad in the world to her. Like, every day, like, there's not a moment. My sister makes a delicious meal, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Like, I haven't forgotten, you know. And so for me, it feels like you're born again. I don't know how to describe it other than that. It literally feels like you're born again. Or like that feeling, like, you know, when you're like 18 and you get to move out of your parents' house?
Yes.
That's what it feels like. That's what getting out of prison feels like. It feels, it feels just like that, like freedom. Like, oh my God, oh gosh, I don't have my parents' rules anymore. I can do what I want, you know? That's what it feels like. And you're excited, and like, I'm 46, but you would think I was 19. I'm like super excited about life, like simple things, you know, going into and eating food, or go to the grocery store, or at Walmart, you know. It's like, oh, you want me to go shopping? Absolutely. Like, her mom wants help with shopping tomorrow because she had knee surgery. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, you know, because even that's a privilege. You know, just being able to do that. Everything is a privilege. Everything's being a dad's a privilege. Being a son to my mom is a privilege. You know, being a worker at my job is a privilege. And most people don't realize it's a privilege until it's taken from you. You don't realize the value of it, you know. So every moment, everything I do, I'm very grateful and excited and full of life, you know.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming back out here and
you're welcome.
updating us on how everything's been. And thank you, Lilah. I appreciate it too.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll wrap it up here.
Okay.
Any last comments for our viewers, or anything you want to say?
You first.
No, I don't really know what to say.
You're good?
Yeah.
Well, for me, I just want to thank everybody that watches the program for supporting the program. It's an amazing program. As soon as I heard about it, honestly, I was kind of like skeptical when my friend came over and he's like, hey man, they got this program where they're going to pick you up and record it. And I'm like, that sounds too good to be true. Like, they're really that kind of people out there that are that kind-hearted, you know? And then when I talked to you guys on the phone, I was like, wow, this sounds legit right here. And then when I found out my sister used to work for you guys, I was like, this is God. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
yeah, it was amazing. And so just for the viewers out there, I just want to say, like, thank you so much for your kindness and support. I seen all the comments. I read through them on the first video.
Yep.
And it was really moving to know that there's people that are like rooting for you, and that
Yep.
there's good, upright people out there. You know, I didn't really see any negative comments.
No, most of our stuff's pretty positive, and
Yeah.
thank you, audience, for that as well, because
Yeah.
these guys are just starting over, you know, and we definitely want them to feel welcome back into society and want to help them, you know, acclimate back into
Yeah.
the world.
And it helps out so much. I can't tell you how helpful it was to get out and have a ride, have a cell phone, have some spending money,
Oh, good, yeah.
a good meal, you know, a nice outfit. You know, most of the guys getting out of prison don't have any of that.
Right.
And the ones that do are usually coming from family members, which kind of makes it hard for the family members. So
Yeah.
it's such a huge blessing, and I'm so grateful and so thankful. And I'm thankful to you guys, and I'm also thankful to everyone that supports your videos and what you guys are doing. And I hope anything I could do to help raise support for that, I'm here. I'm 100% in.
Awesome.
And yeah, so thank you, everybody. I'm so grateful.
Yep. Thank you so much for that. It means the world that you say all that.
Yeah.
It's hopefully soon or one day, you know, we can do this for a lot more people.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a matter of just getting us out there to more people, so people know we're not, you know, it's not anything like a scam or anything.
Right,
Like we're
yeah.
we're
It's
real
real,
people just trying to
yeah.
help out. And
Yeah.
so
Right.
thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you for doing the whole interview with us
Yeah, no
then
problem.
and today. And
Yep.
thanks for keeping in contact with us.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I think we've definitely built a friendship amongst Michael, myself, and you and
absolutely.
Lilah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I appreciate
welcome.
it. And
Yeah, thank
you
you.
everybody for watching.
Yes, thank you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we will see you on the next episode.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.